Toronto rent prices for single-family homes are down at a steeper rent than even downtown condos. A lot of people believe, and I've had comments on our channel that believe that, you know what, it's really just that downtown condo that's getting slammed. Good morning, investors. Bradley here from Watson Estates, and today it's Friday, October 16th, 2020. What a beautiful day to talk about our favorite subject in the world, Toronto real estate. And you're listening to the largest, fastest growing podcast for Toronto real estate on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Thanks for fitting us into your schedule. And speaking of fit, what size condo is the biggest loser? We're going to dive into condos. There's been a lot of news in the last couple of days about this subject. And then we're going to transition into this conversation of who won September 2020. Was it the 905? Was it the 416? And is Ontario, this is my favorite topic, somehow the last few podcasts, the last bit has been my favorite part. Obviously, it's not the biggest news, but it's the biggest tip if you're a landlord, if you're investing in real estate like myself and my clients. Is Ontario preparing to catch opportunistic landlords with illegal suites? Ba ba ba. And if you know me, you know I go to the gym religiously about twice a year around holidays. And at $120 for the entire year, that's $60 a visit. Not a great deal. But what makes me want to talk about fitness in the gym today? Well, just to kind of lighten the mood, we know we like to have fun here on the show. You're going to learn some stuff, but you're going to laugh at me laughing at myself. Some Toronto Peel residents appear to be crossing regional COVID-19 boundaries for exercise. Days after gyms were closed in 3 of Ontario's COVID hotspots, some residents of neighboring municipalities say they are beginning to see longer lineups at their local fitness center. God forbid you gotta wait, right? There's a quote from Jay Osaw telling the CTV News Toronto outside of in Milton, Ontario, says, usually it was just in and out. Now you're waiting upwards of 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. Poor Jay. He suspects that the lines can be attributed to residents traveling from hotspots like Toronto and Peel, those jerks, where gym access and indoor dining have been suspended in the face of climbing COVID-19 cases. This is not the problem with closing things in certain areas, but people are so judgmental these days. Don't hate the Torontonians. I guess Tory, when Tory's in there, it kind of changes the name. The Torontonians. Some of you are like, don't pair me with that jerk. Torontonians are trying to work out. Don't judge them. Like last Easter, right? I decided to hop on a treadmill, but people gave me weird looks. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got to start jogging then. Plain Jane's out there. All right. So let's talk about condos. We've set the tone here for today. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're having lots of fun. At least I am. And I tend to think my grandma is too because she keeps tuning in and our views are going up. Thanks, Grandma. All right, TorontoLife.com. This family downsized from a 3,000 square foot Brampton home to 700 square foot Liberty Village condo. This is the article. Literally, a family chose to downsize. That's enough for news. During the pandemic, most people making real estate moves are ditching the city for bigger properties. The Williams family did the exact opposite. Well, those Williams family, they can't be smart. Like, they're stupid. Like, they're going against the grain here. Well, before you call them that, Andrea Pert Williams is 49. This is the person with her husband. She's the co-owner of Keane Group, Kean. You can check them out. It's a real estate investment firm. So before you go and say, well, these are non-savvy investors that are making this move, not quite. And her husband, Dean Williams, is a BMW technician. They have daughters, a 17-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 27-year-old. And you can check this article out, but these are savvy investors. They say this over the years. The couple acquired other properties, including places in Brampton, Cambridge, and London, all of which they converted into rentals. To earn some extra income, they also rented out their 2-bedroom basement unit for $850 a month. Very business-minded, willing to take a break, have a tenant downstairs in order to get ahead. Not many people willing to do that. They had a 10-property portfolio, and it's now worth $9.5 million and generates $35,000 in monthly income. So why would they make such a stupid move to buy a condo? Well, as you dive deeper into this article, you realize they had two pre-con units. One was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Liberty Village for $662,000, and then a 1-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and that was for $515,000. Well, they had to close on these. These units got pushed back, and ultimately into the fall 2020 was the Liberty Village unit. And so they decided, you know what? Our kids are growing up. We're going to downsize. We've got this unit. And they probably know finding a tenant is far worse than trying to sell that unit. So more likely than not, they decided we're going to move into this unit. And this is what they did. So here's what they say. Let's jump right down. Let's jump to the conclusion. They'd survived a significant uptick in possible cases in Brampton, thought downtown Toronto might actually be an improvement, which is kind of funny when you consider the elevator thing. But living in such close quarters presented new challenges for the Williamses. The girls bicker more than usual. The family members often have to squeeze past one another. Despite those issues, the family spends more quality time together than ever before. They also enjoy living so close to shops, parks, and the waterfront, especially compared to the long car trips that were necessary in Brampton. On the family's post-pandemic to-do list, visits to Ontario Place and the CN Tower. That's cute. Very cute. Thank you for joining the Toronto residents and making a counter move. But here's what I find funny. There are so few people moving into condos as a downsizing method that the one family that does makes the news. So you want to be famous? Do something crazy, absolutely out of this world, and move into a condo. But you'd be hard-pressed to find someone making this transition these days. It's really true, right? It's like finding Waldo at your local gym. He's never there. Why, you ask? Because no one can spot him. But why is this so crazy? Why is it so crazy that people would want to move into condos? Like, what is creating this culture of you downsize into a condo and all of a sudden you're the talk of the town? Well, speaking of biggest loser, tiny condos now are the biggest losers in Toronto real estate market shakeup, according to a Financial Post article. And I want to talk a little bit here, now that we can kind of see the craziness. I want to talk a little bit about what is happening in the condo space, specifically which condo segment, what size condo is the worst, and the worst being the one that's growing the least, or in this case, declining the most. So they talk about this guy, Christopher Bibby. It says he's anguished to sell a 435 square foot condo in Toronto's entertainment district. He listed it back in March, listen to these numbers, for $569,000, so $570. 2 months later, didn't sell it, right? There were no calls, no emails, and there was a dead months. And he said he had just sold another one, same type of unit, for $580 in February. Yet a month after, COVID obviously slammed him. After 2 months, he trimmed the price from $570 down to $530, and coupled with the loosening restrictions, he says he had showings every 10 days. One showing every 10 days. Crazy, but still no offers. And it wasn't until mid-June, that Bibby and the unit's owners were able to finally fill the unit after putting it up for rent at a below market rate. So he didn't even sell it. All that work just to find a damn tenant. You couldn't get rid of it at all. At this point, why would you want to? I don't understand why people are dumping their condos, but that's another story. Bibby's experience is representative of a wider trend in Toronto where it appears that these smaller units are weighing down the entire market. Here's the numbers, guys. According to Urban Nation Inc., sales of condos size 500 square feet, this is the magic number, and under, were down a whopping 20%. 20% year over year. Are you serious? While sales for units of other size ranges were either flat or still positive. So when you take these suckers out of the equation, condos aren't doing so bad year over year. Recognize they went up before they came down. So there's still that kind of buffer, but not these ones. No, these micro units are also the only condos on the market to have experienced a price decline thus far. The only ones. Thus, thanks to a tumbling sales to new listings ratio, there's the only form of housing that's firmly to buyer's market territory, which I disagree. They say, I think it was 4 months of inventory, they said in this article. Whatever the case, clearly prices are going down and we've got ourselves a buyer's market, not based on the stats they're using, but in general, we do. I would agree with that. So they say this, listen to these numbers, okay? If you're under 500 square feet, minus 20%. We heard that. If you're 500 to just under 700 square feet, 13% increase, up, increase. I'm blowing my voice out here. You drink more water, less coffee, but then where's the energy going to come from? I don't know. 700 to 1,000 square feet, 12% increase year over year, and 1,000 plus 5% increase. Again, under 500, the only one that's been hit. Pre-COVID, these condos, if you remember, were the hottest on the market. People would flock to them. You want to buy a pre-construction? Everybody wanted the little one. Where else could you buy a property for under 500,000 in Toronto? Nowhere. And with rents, it made sense. For investors, your cash flow relative to the dollar amount, the rents were high enough, it was worth it. It was the best deal in town. Now, they're the ones flooding the markets with listings. In September, new listings for micro units were up, listen to this, 165% year over year. So many of these units have hit the market that active listings now represent 5.2 months of supply. So there you go, there's 5. And generally, I would say 6 in that case would represent a buyer's market. But the funny thing is this just started. So give it a little bit more time and we'll cross that 6 months. That's my thinking on it. But the pandemic has all but erased the premium that tenants once had to pay for living in the downtown core. I love this point. People usually would pay an additional $400 in rent for an identical unit outside the core. I love this comparison. They say now, if you want to buy in the city, that premium, the downtown premium, is $50. $50. So clearly, tiny condos continue to be the biggest loser. So if you want to slim down those months of inventory, guys, you know what you got to do? You got to sign that condo up for the British gyms because you'll gain 5 kilos, but you'll lose 70 pounds. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love these cross-cultural jokes. They're great. Okay. Now Toronto.com, before we kind of wrap up the condo thing, what's causing this problem, guys? It's the rents, right? It's the rent rates. So the rent rates is transitioning into the price. So now Toronto.com, an interesting article, Toronto rent prices keep sliding except in one area. The numbers are this. They've dropped in the last year rental listings 15% year over year, the price in these rentals. 15% year over year. One bedrooms in the old city of Toronto was down 2.2% monthly. Forget annually, that's monthly. And 15% year over year. I personally am more interested in the monthly. I mean, why are we comparing against last year? The ups and the downs all but erase one another. Why not look at what's happened in the recent past? And I did see we had a bit of a flat. We had a what do you call it? Plateau. We had a plateau that happened in the rental space as far as rent goes. But all of a sudden, they're going back down again. And so the average 2-bedroom, which was the hero, if you remember, when we were looking at these stats for rental units, the 2-bedroom was the best one because they were actually up. Remember? I don't know if you guys remember this, but I know I do. The rents were actually up for the 2+ bedroom units. But now things have shifted. They're down as well, 3.3% monthly and 12% annually. So nobody's winning as far as rent goes. And this is transitioning into the value of these condos. So we'll talk a little bit about where the prices of those are going in a moment, but they say across Canada, Toronto and North York are the municipalities with the largest year-over-year average price drops at 14%. So Toronto rent prices for single-family homes are down at a steeper rent than even downtown condos. A lot of people believe, and I've had comments on our channel that believe that, you know what, it's really just that downtown condo that's getting slammed. But you have to recognize this. While condo supply boomed, rent prices declined 16% in the third quarter, but single-family homes are down 20%. Meanwhile, selling prices for single-family homes keep going up in the Toronto market. Remember, Toronto rent prices for single-family homes are down at a steeper rent than even downtown condos. So if you think I'm in a condo and I'm getting slammed on the rent space, statistically, no. The single-family homes are actually getting crushed the most. Affordability crunch is actually on the freehold side more than the condo side. Is there a correction in the cards? We will wait and we will see. And there's they mentioned a couple areas that are doing okay. Kensington Market, Alexandra Park stayed flat as far as rent. And the M6G area or Koreatown, outside Koreatown, is at down 0.5%. So there's a couple exceptions to the rule, but generally micro-condos are getting slammed. It's making sellers rapidly drop their prices or call it quits altogether. Kind of like your local gym. Filing for bankruptcy while Milton goes flooding to Milton gets flooded with all of these guys that are leaving your gym. So really the question is, good life, who's the quitter now? All right. And I often get questions about developers. What does this mean for my pre-construction? And I think finally in the condo space, we're starting to see a little bit of sunlight here shining through. I love this point because when news changes, I want to be the first to tell you about it. Thanks for tuning in. On the pre-construction market, Sergio Menezes, a sales representative of Condo Connect, said developers are making similar concessions to draw investors back into buying their micro units. Again, specific to the micro units, these under 500 square foot units, many have introduced what he referred to as a drawn out deposit structure. So normally they say you can put down 15%, and this would happen in the first few months here. But what they're saying is they're allowing you to draw it out for years. So you can pay 5% for, say, 3 years, 5 this year, 5 next, and the following. And they're offering cheaper lockers, cheaper parking, all these different things as incentives at the negotiating table in order to get people to purchase these micro units. And they know looking forward that although sales prices have dropped, they've only done so by 1%. And the current supply in the market suggests further drops could be coming, especially as developers wrap up their work on pre-con projects or units and bring more to the market. This is one of the things we need to be paying attention to on the condo space that's often ignored and hard to quantify. There are going to be many, many more units added coming to a city near you. Watch for those deals, guys. They ain't here yet. All right, so let's get off of condos. For those of you who don't have condos, I'm sure you're getting interest. You have interest in these topics, but thanks for sticking around because maybe you're invested in the 905. Maybe the 416 isn't your hub. It's not your investment portfolio. If you're looking for cash flow, more likely than not, you've probably gone outside the city anyways in the recent past. Well, let's talk about who won in September 2020, shall we? So we look at TorontoStories.com, an article they say here, September sales for every 905 home type significantly over 416. Significantly over every home type. Now, I won't leave you hanging. There is one space that Toronto has beat the 416 has beat the 905. I'm going to share that with you. Small wins, guys. Small wins. Okay, here we go. While September was a busy month for real estate activity in the Toronto area, the 905 strongly outpaced the 416 on every count as buyers continued looking for affordable ground-related housing once again. Okay, the report was released from Treb and shows the sales activity in the GTA reached record levels again in September, and year-over-year sales were up 7.4% in September. The market also moved back into a seller's market, and in turn, the MLS average prices were up 14%. The price of all types of housing rose at this rate, with the exception of condos. And we talked a little bit about condos, okay? Existing home sales for condos, detached homes, and townhomes were up more than twice as much in the 905. Twice as much relative to the 416 area in September. Existing home sales were up 10% year over year in the city of Toronto and more than 3 times that much in regions in the 905 area, in certain regions. So if we, in a normal year, we were to see an increase in home sales of 10%, that's a fantastic year. That's good. That would be good. But when you compare against the 905, I mean, we just can't compete, man. You can't compete. Looking at that guy over there. What is he benching over there? And I got these like 5-pounders over here. Ugh. Call them dumbbells or something? That was a dumb joke. Okay. What's more, the MLS average sale price also grew significantly faster in the 905 area for all housing types, with the difference significantly notable for detached and semi-detached homes. The discrepancy in the values, guys, between the semis and the detached is most noticeable between the 416 and the 905. Not in the condo space. Not so much, right? The only area that the 416 did manage to outperform the 905 was this, guys. We got a winner here. We got an opportunity to shine. Here it is. 416 beat the 905 because it rose. The number of new listings rose more. Woohoo! We got more new listings. I mean, the number of sales is like a third, but we got more new listings. Investors out there just shaking their head like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. According to the report, the number of homes listed for sale rose more than sharply in the city of Toronto, up 50% year over year, while the 905 area only saw listings jump 21% year over year. All right, here we go. So we got more listings. Woohoo! All right, but people are getting a little too excited about the 905 over the 416. This is my opinion. Is there going to be future opportunities in the 416 condo space? Yes, I think so. That's my opinion, right? But I do believe personally that we are definitely giving the 416 an unfair shake. Things are leaning way too heavily in favor of the 905. Just like you close the gyms, but then you allow religious meetups to 30% occupancy, right? Like you're kind of, can we not have a little bit of balance here? So as I was kind of thinking that through, because I overthink things occasionally, I think we just need to repackage that gym service, right? If we just repackage it to like kind of more of a religious thing, maybe we'd qualify for the 30%, right? So starting Monday, we're going to open up a new gym in town, and it's called Jehovah's Fitness. We actually have a special guest coming. Jesus himself. He's going to attend. He's going to teach us a little bit about CrossFit. And this is the change. This is a change that can atone for your sins by hitting the gym every day. We call it absolution. That last one's not so funny, but the CrossFit thing, that's a winner. That's a winner for sure. Let's do some hot topics before we get into my favorite topic, this idea of how we're going to crush those pesky landlords taking advantage of the system, okay? Number one, Korea reports Canadian home sales set record for September, up 45.6% year over year. The big notable thing here is these numbers are heavily skewed because of Toronto and the GTA. The actual national average home price set a record in September, up 17.5. But if you excluded the sales from Vancouver and the GTA, the greater Vancouver and the greater Toronto area, two of the most active and expensive housing markets, it lowers the national average price by about $125,000. And so home sales were up, they say, 0.9% seasonally adjusted. Recognize we were actually seasonally down in Toronto, but all that to say, across the country, we're doing fantastic. I also received, as my realtor side, I received an email from the Toronto Real Estate Board, and I'll explain how this works. So they said TREB is still not enforcing MLS R345 showings while the current government of Ontario and other local government health advisories in your region remain in effect. That means nothing to you if you don't understand that part of the deal when you upload a listing on MLS is you have to be able to show it. That's like one of the terms of having the thing on MLS. Well, back in the first wave, they removed this need, and all of a sudden you've got this decline in cases. People don't really think about it anymore. But now, with cases coming back up, people are wondering, hey, can I list the property with no showings? Is that possible again? Can I put it on MLS? Well, this TREB email confirms, yes, you can. You can have a listing now, as an exception, a listing on MLS that you are refusing showings for. Very interesting time in our history. Also, I saw an article from the central bank. They're going to move faster on digital currencies amid COVID-19. I thought, you know what? That's just a Bitcoin thing. The Bitcoin guys are just loud and proud. But no, this is from the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada Deputy Timothy Lane says that shift in spending habits coupled with the speed of technological developments has narrowed the window to deliver a digital currency issued by the central bank. They say this, the Bank of Canada They've started working on their own digital currency should others become widely used in Canada and erode the central bank's ability to manage monetary policy. So for those of you who are like diehard Bitcoin fans, you think the central banks are going to allow you to run all over the place with this currency? No, we need to maintain some monetary control, according to the Bank of Canada. They want to keep that power, so they're going to do it themselves. And who do you think we're going to buy into? You think you're going to buy into Bitcoin, or are we going to buy into the Bank of Canada's monetary policy? I know I'm ruffling some feathers there. A lot of you guys are far more knowledgeable about blockchain and all these things. Leave it in the comments below. But please, don't promote your Bitcoin business. Moving right along. Ontario Premier says York Region is teetering towards modified stage 2. So I would say York Region is going into stage 2. That's the update there. They didn't say it, but I said it. Okay. Acorn Canada, our friends over there, they are a tenant advocacy group. There's an article from the Hamilton Spectator. Bring back the moratorium. Calls for the tenant protection grows as more Hamilton landlords seek to evict tenants during COVID. These poor tenants, man. You guys got to go easy on them. More than 550 Hamilton landlords have applied to evict tenants over unpaid rent since March. How dare you? Yeah, they didn't pay you rent, but you can't kick them out. So it's now because you are kicking them out. You're trampling on these poor people. It spurs for the call for renewed pandemic protection for renters. The moratorium, as you know, ended in August, allowing provincial landlords and the tenant board to deal with a backlog, okay? Think of these numbers. We had 550 currently. 323 of them were pre-COVID. But now we've got 230 post-COVID. Where do you think the post-COVID came from? Came from advocacy groups like Acorn telling people, don't pay your rent. You don't need to. Hold your rent. Well, now we need a moratorium again because these people they're losing their jobs. How are you going to pay back all of these rents that have been expected? I don't think it's as big an issue as many thought originally, which is why I think the government hasn't stepped in to deal with it. So there you go. But should we bring in another moratorium? What a joke, in my opinion. You might have your own opinion. They need to bring back the moratorium instead of making it easier to evict people, said Jonathan Lopez, the local organizer with tenant group Acorn. Thank you for your feedback. Really, we'll take it into advisement. Okay. Let's get into our last and final topic. Is Ontario preparing to catch opportunistic landlords with illegal suites? This is a fun topic, guys, because we're going to hit it from several angles. Number one, BarrieToday.com had an article that reads, in Barrie's red-hot housing market, most second suites are not, quote, affordable. The second suites are not affordable. The more units you can get, guys, the sexier your portfolio. For sure. Definitely. We just need to pump it up. Pump it up. Can I get a bench press, right? Get a bench press. Bench press definitely is the best gym exercise, hands down. Hands up, hands down. Hands up, hands down. The issue is that most second suites are not renting at a price that is helping those in severe housing need, where the need is often most serious. This comes from the mayor of Barrie. He says this, the issue is that most second suites are not renting at a price that is helping those in severe housing need, where the need is often most serious. At this point, I think we need to turn our attention to those in deepest need to focus on building more supportive housing and or public housing. Guys, rents have climbed so quickly that it's unaffordable. The rents are unaffordable, not the housing, the rents. In other words, more units are needed. That really is the solution. And so small landlords are taking it into their own hands for now. Until we can get a focus on this as it relates to policy, which we're going to talk to in just a second, because it's going to invade your personal protections and privacy rights. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But there is a huge opportunity in single family homes. No question. Confidus is actually a thing I've signed up with. I don't use it that much, but they kind of, they lean towards landlords. They kind of, I don't know. You can look it up online. Konfidis. They're a website. They kind of show you the areas that are best. They're supposed to be like a landlord geared realtor.ca. But anyways, they sent me an email, which I thought was interesting. They say 3 major announcements that happened in real estate over the summer. Listen to this and tell me if the big boys don't think there's an opportunity in single family. Number 1, Brookfield bets on single family rental with $300 million fund. That was in July. Blackstone gets back into rental with a deal from Tricon. We talked about that in our podcast back in August. The firm is leading a $300 million preferred equity investment to make that move. And Koch, Koch, backs Amherst in $200 million bet on single family rentals. That was in May. These are big players investing in single family homes. But there's a lot of little players too. And the little players think, you know what? I want a piece of the pie. And it's led some cities to say, you know what? We got to deal with these illegal units, but we don't have the power to do it. You guys might not know that. I'm kind of learning this as we go too, because I haven't had a lot of the city knocking on our doors, but there's a big plan for these municipalities to want to address the obviously health risks, and they want to tax you. Let's face it, right? So Mississauga, and I know Mississauga is not the only city that's done this. I've seen other cities with this too, but I'll read the Mississauga article. Insauga.com says Mississauga asks for power to search some houses for illegal units. And you guys might be thinking, as I originally did, is then do it. Like, just do it. But we forget that you need permission to enter that unit. You can't just walk into somebody's house, but we kind of ignore that. We think, oh, well, they're doing their job. They're going to go and find these bad guys, right? In fact, they're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars in their budgets to do it. Well, they say this, although the COVID pandemic has put some downward pressure on rental rates in the GTA, Mississauga remains one of the priciest cities for renters. And it looks like some landlords might be illegally carving up single family homes into multiple units in a bid to collect more money from cash-strapped tenants. Why not seize this opportunity? But at a recent council meeting, City Council, Ward 2 Councillor Karen Roz introduced a motion calling on Steve Clark, Minister of the Municipal Affairs and Housing, to make amendments to the Ontario Building Code to allow city officials to inspect homes suspected of containing multiple illegal units. You couldn't do that before, apparently. And so we're saying, if I suspect that your unit is being treated as an illegal unit, I want to be able to have access, regardless of whether you want me to have access. According to the motion, Mississauga's building staff have received numerous complaints about property owners who may be converting single-family homes into multiple-unit dwellings without the appropriate permits. Duh. This has been going on for years. Apparently now is the problem. Now we're going to deal with it. And they've had difficulty obtaining access to the units to inspect them. This is a real problem these inspectors are apparently having. And so we need to take it up a notch. We need to send this to the province. Okay, here we go. The city has been mired in an affordability housing crisis for quite some time, and many prospective tenants are desperate for cheaper accommodations. This is the reason this works. Because these tenants are so desperate. And guys, I hope you realize I do sympathize in many ways with tenants. The ones who are sincerely trying to pay their rent, they're trying to make it by. They maybe got kids, they're getting affected by COVID. They're having some trouble. And rents have gone through the roof. They really have. So they're desperate for any cheaper accommodations to the point where I don't care if it's a legal unit. Give me a place to put my kid's head at night, right? So Mississauga finished third on the list of average monthly rent. That's why I thought this would be a good one to talk about out of 40 cities. And their average one-bedroom home, listen to this, average one-bedroom home in Mississauga, $1,900. And that's ninth for two-bedroom. A two-bedroom is $2,100. So I don't know why we just get the two-bedroom for extra $200. That sounds good to me. But a one-bedroom, $1,900. Unbelievable. And the reason that rate is like that is because it's tight. It's not like it's the landlords being filthy rich and taking advantage. No, that is a supply and demand pushing that price up. But people as well recognize Mississauga is growing because people are okay with the commute to work now, are recognizing they will be commuting. And Mississauga has reaped the benefit of that. Do you even Lyft, bro? Or do you Uber, bro? The motion called, actually, Mayor Crombie stepped in to send a letter to Clark on behalf of council requesting that Section 16 of the Act be amended to allow inspectors to enter dwellings when the inspector has reasonably grounds to believe the construction is taking place within the dwelling. So the municipalities have made up their mind. They've decided, forget privacy. We need to deal with this issue of multiple dwellings. They say this, though. Here's the response of the province. And what are they going to do? This is their current response, but are things going to change as the voices of the municipality stack up against them? The province said it must respect privacy when reviewing requests to allow inspectors greater access to private dwellings. We need to respect privacy. The minister considers all proposals to update and revise the Building Code Act. However, when requests relate to powers to enter buildings, consideration must be given to the importance of protecting public safety and the privacy interests of people in their own homes. So what do we do now? When it comes to entering the private dwelling, they say the act requires the inspector to obtain permission. And if not, you have to obtain a warrant to get in. That's currently. Very interesting stuff. Obviously, Charter Rights and Freedom recognizes your right to have secure against unreasonable search and seizure. And all of these things are up for debate right now. If this ever got overturned, think of the consequences that would happen across the GTA with these illegal units. They would immediately be up for sale. And you as investors that have a nice little pocketbook can walk in and say, you know what, I'll take that off your hands. I know the city's breathing down your neck, but we can convert that. You bought in thinking you didn't have to convert it, but the rules have changed, baby, and I'm here to save the day. But now we're starting to get into human rights issues, and cities are pushing the line to prevent illegal apartments. Who's right? Who's wrong? Time will tell, because at the end of the day, we know that whatever is decided by the government is always right and is always true. But with the closures, I'm going to wrap up today by saying I must say I'm missing going to the gym. I really am. But you know what? Not having to go to the gym has been a real weight off my shoulders. Bradley, you know you're not funny, right? I hear that. I hear that ringing in my ears every now and again. But I knock that and I say, you know what? Subscribe. Give me another chance. I promise. The jokes will work out next time. I love how that's the last one. It's probably the worst joke I told today. Anyways, we had some fun here. I hope you learned some stuff as it relates to Toronto real estate. You're listening to the largest, fastest growing podcast for Toronto real estate on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. If you're not already on our list of investors to get high cash flow properties, I sent one out yesterday with 70% ROI in the first year. Fantastic investments within a couple hours of the GTA, not to mention off-market deals that come across our table. We send them all out to you guys, and I would love to partner with you outside of just chatting with you on your drive to or not to work. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and keep it real.